And shifting focus now to a question. Is America looking for fresh conflict in Africa? And we are asking that because Donald Trump took fresh aim at Africa's two biggest economies, Nigeria and South Africa. While he questioned South Africa's role in the G20 right before it gets ready to host a global summit, in Nigeria's case, he went even further. He renewed that threat to go, in his words, guns a-blazing. Now, if the government continues to allow the killing of Christians, quote unquote, he warned America would, again quoting, wipe out Islamic terrorists in Nigeria. Listen to the statement for yourself.
The Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians. The USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible, horrible atrocities.
Just last week, remember, Trump put Nigeria back on America's list of religious freedom violators. And then on November 1, he said he had asked the Pentagon to prepare for possible fast military action if Nigeria fails to act. Washington's move has strained diplomatic ties. Nigeria's government has rejected the U.S. claims outright, calling them misinformation and faulty data, quote unquote. The information minister, meanwhile, has also pushed back, saying terrorism in Nigeria affects both Christians and Muslims, and that the government is fighting extremism through military action, regional cooperation and dialogue.
The government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is well apprised of the level of anxiety created by the designation of our country as a country of particular concern, or CPC, by the U.S. government, and the threats of military action by the President of the United States, following a wrong perception and misrepresentation of the security challenges in our country.
So where does Nigeria really fit into Trump's broader agenda in a way, especially as his own government remains shut down for 36 days and counting? For months, American politicians and campaigners have alleged that Islamist militants are systematically targeting Christians in Nigeria. But much of the data used to support that claim is difficult to verify, reportedly. In the month of September, US TV host described it as a quote-unquote genocide, claiming Boko Haram had killed over 100,000 people since 2009 and burned 18,000 churches. Nigeria called that a gross misrepresentation of reality. Officials admit there is deadly violence, but insist that terrorists attack everyone, Christians, Muslims, and those of no faith. Independent analysts agree reportedly that most victims of jihadist attacks are Muslims and not Christians. A security expert has said while Christians have been attacked as part of a broader terror strategy, it's not possible to justify claims that they are deliberately being targeted. Nigeria, after all, is battling multiple security crises, from jihadist insurgencies in the north to criminal networks in the west, reportedly, central regions, each with different causes. Nigeria's 220 million people are roughly evenly split between Christians and Muslims, with Muslims dominant in the north, where most attacks occur reportedly. Nigeria's government has struggled to contain these groups, from Boko Haram, infamous for the Chibok girls' kidnapping, to Islamic State West Africa province. But verifying the death toll has been rather tricky. Some organizations claim over 100,000 Christians have been killed since 2009. Others, like the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, say 53,000 civilians, both Christians and Muslims, have died in political violence since the year 2009. The group adds that most attacks were not religiously motivated. The charity Open Doors, which tracks persecution of Christians, has said 3,100 Christians and 2,300 Muslims were killed in Nigeria last year alone. So the picture is complex. The numbers don't quite match in some cases, which also raises a big question. Can potential US military action in Nigeria really be justified on these grounds? Especially since Donald Trump is not just talking about Nigeria. He is also taking shots at South Africa, for example, the continent's biggest economy. And the US president has said South Africa should not even be in the grouping anymore, arguing, quoting, what's happened there is bad. South Africa, remember, is set to host the G20 summit on November 22 to 23. But Trump says he will not attend, sending Vice President J.D. Vance instead. Remember, Trump has previously pushed the false claim of a genocide against white farmers, quote unquote, in South Africa, even offering them refugee status in the U.S. His latest remarks coming while discussing Cuba and Venezuela, suggesting he may have confused South Africa with South America, perhaps. That's also been talked about. So as Trump's rhetoric sharpens and as Washington revives old claims, one cannot help but ask all over again, is the U.S. gearing up for a whole new front, this time in Africa?